Start off with your foundation. The idea is to use something that's super matte, no shimmer. I'm going to be using Studio Fix Fluid by MAC. You're also going to want to use something that is going to provide full coverage. Keep adding foundation. Try not to over apply, but just keep adding until you get the desired finish that you want and the desired coverage that you want. But for pinup, you basically want your skin to look virtually perfect and blemish free. Pinup eyebrows are usually known to be a little more arched than normal. And a little trick that I like to do if you don't have a naturally high arch, a trick to getting your eyebrow to appear more arched is to actually start lower towards the bridge of your nose and then filling in your brow the way you normally would. And that will give the illusion that your arch is higher up here when you start lower down here. And this step is optional, but pinup brows are usually drawn out a little bit longer as well. So don't be afraid to really give that brow some length. But like I said, this step is optional. I'm using concealer to help define out those brows, and I'm also taking some of that concealer and applying it on my eyelid, and that is going to help prime the eyes for when we add our eyeshadow later. If you'd like to see a more accurate description of how I do my eyebrows, I have not one, but 2 eyebrow videos you can check out. Now that my eyebrows and my foundation is done, I'm using a pressed powder to take away any oil or shine that the foundation may have. I'm going to be using Mineralized Skin Finish by MAC, and this shade is Deep Dark. And I'm basically just patting it onto the skin. If you have a good blot powder, this will also work great for that step and help set your makeup. For the eyes, keep shimmer to a minimum and basically try to work with virtually all mattes. So to start that off, I'm going to use Groundwork Paint Pot as my base by MAC. You can use anything that's basically neutral to your complexion, and Groundwork for me is just that. So I'm going to start by applying a little bit of that onto my eyelid. I'm using Bisque eyeshadow by MAC as my brow bone highlight. For my eyelid, I'm going to use 2 different eyeshadows. First, I'm using Patina eyeshadow by MAC. And then I'm going to go over that with a little Naked Pigment by MAC, which is basically like a cream beige color. It's got a little bit of shimmer, but it doesn't really show much. So the patina is going to go on first. Then a little Naked is going to go on top of that. And I started off with a lot, but I'm going to blend that out to lighten that out a little bit so that it's not really concentrated in one spot. I'm taking a little bit of Foley eyeshadow by MAC. It's either pronounced Foley or Folly, I'm not sure. It's Foley by MAC, and it's basically a medium brown. And I'm not going to use a lot of this color, but on my outer V, I'm applying that eyeshadow just to kind of define that crease a little bit. Not so much for the color payoff, just for a little bit of definition. Just above where we applied that Folly, I'm going to be applying Texture eyeshadow by MAC. This is going to be my crease color, and this is going to give some added definition. As most of you may know, one of the focus features of a pinup look is the liquid lined eye, which is basically why I kept the eyes virtually neutral. So go heavy on the liquid liner, try to keep it as defined and as perfect as possible. As I know that's kind of a difficult concept to grasp, but and I know eyeliner can be a little tricky to work with, but basically that's the idea. So for liquid liner, I'm going to use Maybelline's Ultra Liner, and I'm going to be very, very careful on how I apply it. And I'm also gonna wing it out a little bit further than I probably normally would. And a cool way to clean up liquid liner mistakes, even if you don't make a mistake and you just want a more defined winged eye, you can take any cream concealer and a thin concealer brush, and basically along the bottom just clean that up. And it acts as a great eraser to erase any mistakes that you may have made free-handed. I'm gonna go really heavy on the mascara because I want very dark, thick lashes. I'm using Maybelline's Lash Stiletto, by the way. You can curl them if needed, but obviously you see I don't need much curl. I'm going to be adding lashes for this look, but instead of using a full strip, I'm actually only going to use half lashes. Reason being is I like using half lashes because it kind of gives that cat eye effect and elongates the ends of your eyes versus a full strip lash just giving you all long all over. So this is a great way to bump your look up and make it look more pin-up, is by adding just half lashes. So now you've got your pin-up eyes. This step is optional, but if you want a more defined contour, what you can do is take a foundation that's about 1 to 2 shades darker than your own complexion. And the foundation that I'm using is a cream foundation. This is from Sleep Makeup. Someone gave this to me as a gift. It's their cream to powder foundation tester kit. All I just use this is for contouring, and as you can see, I get a lot of use out of these last 2 colors. You basically just want to use something that's a little bit darker than your complexion, and I'm gonna work that into my temples with the concealer brush, into my temples and the hollow points of my cheekbones, because I want a more defined contour. I'm going to blend that out with a sponge. I'm going to take a Pro Contour Powder by MAC. The color of this is called Shadowy, and these are only available at Pro stores. Using an angled contour brush, I'm going to contour the hollows of my cheekbones, and this is basically going over that cream color that we applied earlier to kind of reinforce that a little bit. And I'm gonna also work that into my temples. Next step is going to be to highlight under the eyes. Set your concealer with translucent powder. And I'm really pressing on that translucent powder, because it's also going to help blot out more shine that you may have accumulated, and it's going to help that makeup appear more matte. Since we're going to be wearing a red lipstick, I'm going to keep my blush and my cheek color on the pinkish rosy hue. So for my cheeks, my blush, I'm going to be using Pink Swoon by MAC, and this is basically a really great baby soft pink that actually works well for virtually all complexions. I'm not going to use a lot. I'm going to apply this color just on the cheeks, just on the apples of my cheeks. Now a little bit down my cheekbones, but not so much. I usually like to do my under eye makeup after I've done my under eye concealer. So I'm gonna go ahead and just add a little mascara, bottom lash mascara. I'm using a MAC 224 brush and my shadowy contour powder along the sides of my nose, just to contour that out a little bit, just so that it adds more dimension back to my face. That step is also optional. I'm using MAC's Chromographic Pencil in NW25. If you're a little bit more fair-skinned, a great way to get that under eye, to get your lower lash line to pop, is by using Fascinated Eye Pencil. But since I obviously am a woman of color, I like to use something that's actually got a little bit of peach or beige to it. And that way I get the same effect, but the white up against my skin tone isn't as harsh and isn't as noticeable. So this is a great way, you know, for women of color to get that same effect without it looking so stark and just so blaringly obvious. So I'm going to take a little bit of that chromographic in my waterline. And this is what's going to definitely make it look a little bit more pin up. And it's also going to open your eyes up a little bit more. For my cheekbone highlight, I'm also going to try to keep, you guys know I love using margin, I love using my I Am Glam, but I'm going to try to keep my cheekbone highlight virtually also matte. So if you have a great matte highlight to apply in the high points of your cheekbones, that'll be great. The one that I'm using is Personal Style. This is by MAC, and basically it just looks like a beige blush. Like, it's very, very soft. When you look at this blush, you're like, what the heck would you even use this for? Great matte highlight. Another one that they also came, and that one is limited, by the way. Another great one that they also came out with is Garb. That's another great matte highlight. But for those of you that shop at pro stores or may live near a pro store, you can also purchase some of their highlighting powders, and those are virtually kind of have like that matte satin finish. So if you can get your hands on some of those, you can also use those. But I'm basically going to apply that on the high points of my cheekbones. And that's going to keep this look very, very matte and also glamorous. Now we are ready to top the whole look off, and that is going to be for our red lip. Now, some great ways that you can prep your red lip to get the most wearability out of it. First of all, you want to stick to mattes. Stay away from shimmer, stay away from gloss. Obviously, the possibilities are endless. You can use those things if you'd like, but if you want a more classic pinup look, try to stay with mattes, and mattes also are great because they last longer and you don't have to really apply them so often. So what I like to do is I like to take a little bit of my powder and apply that right onto my lips, and basically that helps to mute out any discoloration, and it helps the lip color last a lot longer. Now this next step is also going to apply on your complexion, the size of your lips, and just your personal preference. Since I have fuller lips, instead of using a red lip liner, I actually tend to use a natural brown. So to line my lips, I'm using Cork Lip Liner by MAC. And I'm not going to use a lot, but I'm basically just going to outline the shape. And when you use a brown liner, the advantages of that is when you're using a brighter color, for those of you guys that are a little bit scared of red, when you use a brown color, it makes the transition of the color to your skin tone a little bit more natural. So it doesn't look like a big goofy line of crazy color along your lips. The brown, I think, helps tone it down and make it a little bit more natural and everyday wearable as well. The lipstick that I'm going to be wearing is Ruby Woo by MAC, which is basically one of their staple red colors. If you don't own this color, you're crazy. I'm just kidding, you're not crazy. But it's a very, very beautiful matte red. And it lasts a long time. There you go, guys. There is your completed pinup look. I hope that you guys found this tutorial helpful. And if you have any questions, please post them down below. Any suggestions, please post them down below. Thank you very, very much for watching, and I hope you guys enjoyed the tutorial. Bye. Ooh, that makes my teeth look real white, huh? You can like walk, I'll just edit it out. It's fine. I promise it's fine. I'll just edit it out.